YouTube? Long time no see, huh? Alright, well, we'll get right to the video. Every 10 years, we take the census, which gathers information about population growth or decline, and is used for a variety of things from funding, federal funding, to voting patterns, to statistical data. Now, the political theater is quite interesting here. A local example. I'll give you a local example. Erie County legislators Betty Jean Grant and Barbara Miller Williams presented competing maps that were to be voted on by the Erie County Legislature. Betty Jean's map had 40% of the landmass of Erie County in one district, while Barbara Miller Williams had more even districts as far as population, but cracked up communities to help Republicans, something that she denies to this day. However, it ended up in court in 2011, and Judge William Scretany ended up drawing the maps, which I believe the Erie County legislators are running on today. Every 10 years, for astute political observers, we're always looking out for this and how it'll play out in court. Like Arizona's Governor Brewer wanted to fire a woman who headed the Independent Redistricting Commission because Brewer felt that the map that she provided to the legislature advantaged Democrats by making districts more competitive. In California, the same thing happened in 2010 as far as voters giving power over the redistricting process to an independent redistricting commission. Also in 2010, Florida voters passed a constitutional amendment saying that districts can't employ odd shapes and favor one party over the other. Fair enough, but when you put legislators in charge, you are going to see them do exactly the opposite of what the amendment was intended to do. An example of in my home state of New York. New York 26 was represented by Kathy Hochul and redrawn to get a Republican in that seat. Chris Collins, evil incarnate, or any Republican that ran for that seat. Do you get a sense of now that the census is more important than just gathering population data? Also, take a look at this map here. In my state, you'll see that we lost 2 seats. Not only did the Erie County Legislature downsize from 15 to 11, but our delegation went from 31 to 29. Voters trying to make redistricting fair isn't something new. Voters trying to have a better handle on their government is exactly why recalls and petitions and initiatives were enacted by progressives. But even when the people stepped in and tried to give direction to the Florida legislature, I'll just show you the picture right here. It's just brutal. Florida 5 and Florida 10. A federal judge heard a case brought by the League of Women Voters, and he invalidated these 2 districts. The blue district is held by Miss Corinne Brown, and the other one is by Dan Webster, who hold both of those congressional seats. Judge Lewis's ruling eviscerated the Florida legislature and told us how the Republicans use operatives in town hall meetings around the state to validate their maps and say why it was the best one for the states to adopt. You want to know what the scariest thing about this whole thing was? Judge Lewis said that if the League of Women Voters did not bring this lawsuit, Republicans would have successfully hidden their trickery from public view. They used Republican consultants who either drew up maps or gave approval to the maps that were to be voted on in the Florida legislature. The methods they used were sneaky and just underhanded. But I'm not going to pretend as if the Maryland District 3, which is a Democratic one, isn't as bad. Or Illinois 4, it looks like earmuffs. Take a look at those pictures. Like, as you see them, you're thinking, what in the world? But the legislature, as opposed to those 2 states, the legislature isn't bound by constitutional amendments passed by voters in 2010 when Florida voters elected Rick Scott. But let's take a look at some other districts and how gerrymandered they are. Let's take a look at Michigan 14. Doesn't it look like a sausage grinder and whatever's coming out of it is going to be sausage? Now, Ohio 9 is called Mistake by the Lake. And I think I know why they call it Mistake by the Lake, because it looks like diarrhea. North Carolina 12 looks just as bad as Florida 5. Maybe it's a little more compact. But there are 2 other districts in North Carolina that look just as bad. North Carolina 4 and North Carolina 6. We know that legislature was definitely busy because they had to draw the lines so that they can not only gerrymander themselves into power, but also pass an oppressive voter ID bill. This next one is out of Texas, and it looks like a Rorschach ink blot. PA 7. Somebody told me that was a horrible district drawn. One of them looks like a rabbit, and the other one looks like a dog with a detached head and a neck, but it's still living. It's weird. And then let's take a look at these four pictured here. So you should honestly, I think that you should give those kids, to kids, and have them like ask what they see. But let's take a look also at Florida District 22, which is another one. And Arizona District 2. Now, if you want to see more gerrymandered districts, you can just Google them, because I'm pretty sure they will not have a shortage of these gerrymandered districts. There are too many more than I have time for. But in 2012, in Ohio, Issue 2 was on the ballot, and I feel Republicans decided to give it that title because so that voters would conflate it with the anti-union measure, Issue 2, that reversed a Senate bill that eliminated collective bargaining in Ohio. I pointed out that it was a different topic, the independent redistricting measure, which is necessary for voter reform as well as fair elections. And I bundle these two because if you get the money out of politics and then take the power away from the legislature to draw congressional and state district boundaries, you can get a government that works for the people and not the special interests that bought Mitt Romney. Redistricting is always a political theater, but at least with an independent redistricting commission, we can downplay some of it because the legislature's hands will be tied. Even if they take it to court, some of the partisan edge can be taken out of redistricting. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.